coming up on this episode.
I'm like a thermostat. If you thermostat is set on 80 degrees and it gets colder outside, the thermostat just has to work harder to maintain that temperature. So yes. The outside conditions to me are irrelevant. My goals haven't changed.
I wanted to take on a New Year's mindset. So that's where symbolism came into play in my mind.
Okay. That means you have to be absolutely sure what your purpose is beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't meet a lot of people like that.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, The Real Frii, with another episode of Free Lunch with The Real Frii. I have a special guest with me this episode, a brother by the name of Kevin Muhammad. Very, very good brother. You guys are absolutely going to be blessed by this episode. We're going to be hitting on a few topics that I think are really, really important for not just both of us, but important for just us as a community. Everybody can relate, basically. I'm going to start with some check-ins, just see how everybody's doing. I hope you guys are all doing well and safe out there. We're going to be chopping it up about just 2020 symbolism. What does it symbolize to you? What does it symbolize for you? I know at the start of 2020, many of us may have had New Year's resolutions or goals or just things that we were going to achieve, what 2020 just meant for us. And I know that's a really, really big deal. Next, we're going to be chopping it up, talking about just being public figures. Some of us who are more in the public eye than others. What is it like being a public figure with those private opinions, though? I know most, if not all of you, have them. Some of our opinions got to be kept to ourselves sometimes. Others, not so much. But that's kind of what we have to juggle, being public figures, being in the public eye. Lastly, some things that just can't grow in the light. Everybody wants to experience sunshine. And I'm talking metaphorically. Everybody wants to experience the highs of life. And I think there's some things that can only grow in the dark, in the time during the struggle, in that low place. So this is free lunch, is free food for your soul. I'm going to introduce my guest now. I'm going to have him tell you guys what he does, who he is. My man, Kevin Muhammad. What's going on, Kev?
I'm here, brother.
Tell the people, just introduce yourself, Kev. Tell them who you are, what it is you do.
Well, I'd like to first say that, I'm just a brother. But my background is one of an educator, professional educator. I own a business which advocates. I work as an advocate for young people who are, sort of struggling in school and need advocacy. I also hire teachers to teach children beyond the classroom from kindergarten through 12th grade. And currently now working on a master's in social work, which I'm going into my final clinical year, is scheduled to graduate in 2021.
Dope. Amen. Okay. So, Kev, like I said, I wanted us to just really check in, man, with one another. My family's been staying safe, and praise God, has been doing okay in this time, man. I wanted to check in on your family, man. How have you and the family? Everybody's been keeping safe, doing well?
We're doing the best we can, brother, under the circumstances. We know that we may not be able to get out physically, so we're going in, mentally and spiritually, and trying to keep that up.
Yeah. I would say I was discussing it with my wife the other day. But what would you say? What's the? I'm gonna ask you for your best and for your worst. What's the best thing, or the most positive thing you've been able to experience as a result of being kind of on this lockdown?
I think the sharpness of mind. I think the world slowed down. We're all very busy. It seems, even with technology and things going, we move so fast that we don't get a time to slow down and nurture the things that are important, slow down, get our minds together, meditate, think things over, read, study. So I think the thing that I've most benefited from was the fact that I could slow down, pay attention to people.
Mm.
Listen more.
Yeah, yeah.
There.
It's funny you say that. You mentioned that because I don't think it's something that I needed to have the you know the quarantining to necessarily affect for me, or accomplish before I got this revelation. But my wife has said to me numerous times before, like when she's coming to me or approaches me to say something, I could sometimes be caught up in my cell phone doing business, handling work. And and many times while she's speaking, I'll be in my phone and trying to multitask, trying to listen to her as well as also doing something on my phone. And although I may be able to do that and, appropriately respond to her, whatever it is she's saying, it doesn't make her feel good all the time. And today, I was again at the table with my phone doing something, and she came up to me, and it dawned on me right there in the moment, to just set my phone down and actually give her my full attention. And I'm just blessed that I have this opportunity because we're both working from home now with the quarantine, everything going on. I have more opportunities to practice that, to put that into action for my wife, and to just better our communication. So that's a positive to highlight for today. Just to throw that out there. But what would you say is one of the biggest lows, man? What's one of the biggest negatives you could say you may be experiencing this time?
Well, there are places that I can't go. I love to go, as you've been there with me before. I love to go to the bookstore. That's closed.
Yeah.
I love to go to the movies. That's closed.
Yes.
And my daughter is home, but I know that I would love to go sit with her at a restaurant or to do those things. And my wife and I like to go out and listen to a little music sometimes, and so I think it's the entertainment, and the places of business where I could actually get a meal, sit down away from home, get a cup of coffee. So I think those things are missed above everything else. I'm not a person that does a lot of extracurricular activities in other places,
Yeah.
But I have certain places that I do love to go to and enjoy, and especially with someone that I love. And, sometimes you just need to change the scenery, and that's not possible at this time.
Yeah, yeah. No, and you mentioned just basically the biggest thing that I would have gone out to do anyway at a normal season in life would have been either the movies or, going out to get something nice to eat with the wife. One of my favorite restaurants is Red Lobster, man. I love me some Red Lobster. Can't do any of that right now, but it is what it is. I've been enjoying home and enjoying my family thus far. So we mentioned at the top of the segment, or the top of the show in the intro, just talking about 2020, at the top of 2020. And I read somewhere today, I thought it was shocking. For some of you out there, you might already heard this type of data or information, but I read somewhere that out of all the people who set a New Year's resolution or just set a goal at the beginning of every year, only approximately 8% complete that goal or whatever it is that they set for themselves at the top of the year. Now, what I wanted us to discuss is not so much, New Year's resolutions or 2020 resolutions. What I was really aiming to discuss is really what 2020 has symbolized. And I think at the top of the year, I chose to take that kind of mindset rather than try to set, quote unquote, a New Year's resolution. I wanted to take on a New Year's mindset. So that's where symbolism came into play in my mind as I contemplated what 2020 would be like or look like for myself. I wanted it to be symbolic of something. And for me, it just what would help my mind and my thinking is if I associate symbolism for 2020 or apply a degree of what I wanted to symbolize, that would somehow, in a weird way, drive me forward more, better in achieving whatever I wanted to achieve for 2020. So 2020 at the top of the year, and I think even till now, even with everything that has gone on since the beginning of the year, 2020 has symbolized for me drive, for lack of a better word. There's many synonyms I could put in that place, but just relentless determination to accomplish or do all that I feel God has put on the inside of me. I worded another way one time with someone, I believe I was talking to my wife. 2020 symbolizes for me a heightened sense of things, a degree of just passion, feeling just this sense of urgency, and not the kind of urgency where there's something to worry about or a sense of urgency that comes with the panic mindset. I'm saying a sense of urgency as in I'm going to live every day like it's my last day, and I'm going to hope for or plan the best I can for, things ahead as if I'll live forever. But as far as my actions, how I will spend each day, I was determined at the beginning of this year that I will spend each day aggressively and efficiently making good use of my time.
Well, one of the things that I don't do anymore is I don't use future tense.
Yeah.
Because the future is now. And I think the problem with making New Year's resolutions is that we don't realize that we're not guaranteed to get through it. And the future is now. So if we are doing the right things now, the future is going to look like the present. So, what I try to do is put all of my energy in what I'm doing now with a goal. What can I do today? I still set a goal.
Yeah.
But it's not thinking about the future. It's thinking about what I need to do now in order to get that goal. There's a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill who wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich.
Yep, I'm familiar with it.
He said there's one quality which one must possess to win, and that is the definiteness of purpose, the knowledge of what one wants, and a burning desire to possess it. Those are three things that you have to win. Definiteness of purpose.
Okay.
That means you have to be absolutely sure what your purpose is beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't meet a lot of people like that.
Yeah, man.
After your purpose, and it takes you more than 2 minutes to tell me you don't have definiteness of purpose yet.
Wow.
Now, once you have definiteness of purpose, they call it an elevator talk. Then you have the knowledge of what you're trying to accomplish and what you want. So what you want is not what you want for 5 seconds. What you want, you get up with in the morning, you live it, you eat it, you sleep it, you go to bed with it at night. And he said a burning desire to possess it. You know when somebody has something burning them? It's almost like if you don't get immediate attention, that thing's going to burn you.
Yeah.
So burning desire is something that you just can't help. It nags at you. You know that this is your calling. This is your purpose. So it don't take much to set a goal with somebody who got a burning desire. Because that burning desire gets up with you. It doesn't go away because you're having breakfast with your wife.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go away because, you're necessarily watching TV. It's always in the background gnawing at you.
Yeah.
So you have a burning desire. So I think once people figure out their purpose, the knowledge of what they want, and what's really burning them desire, setting goals becomes easy. Problem is, when a person sets a goal, I want to lose weight, it's not burning you enough. It's not a burning desire. It's something it's something you're thinking about, and when the going gets rough and tough, you just dismiss it.
Yeah.
So I don't fool around making goals for stuff that I'm not serious about.
Yeah. So what would
You know,
you so what would you say? So I know at the top of the year then, just based on what you said, you may not have um approached or looked forward through for your year for the year 2020 like many others may have done. So but even with that being said, do you feel that you could answer the question if posed to you, what so for somebody maybe who doesn't look forward, I guess you could look at today and then behind you what has already transpired for 2020. From that angle, what would you say 2020 so far has been symbolic of for you?
Yep. So when I set a goal, I don't stop because things on the outside of me change. So my goals are set because it's something internal. Put it this way: if you are, if you know, I'm like a thermostat. A thermostat, if you thermostat is set on 80 degrees and it gets colder outside, the thermostat just has to work harder to maintain that temperature.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
outside conditions to me are irrelevant. Now that we have a
Yeah.
pandemic, my goals haven't changed.
Yes.
So also, some people say that the year 2020, it's 2020 vision, it's clarity. And I think what this has done is it's given us clarity of what's important. It's allowed us to see what's real.
Wow.
And it's allowed us to have time to sit back and clarify, because a lot of us are concerned with the fluff.
Yeah.
And now you can't fluff, you can't get your nails did, or as Jill Scott goes, you get your hair dyed and your nails fried. You can't do that now.
Oh man.
What's real is what's real.
Yeah.
You can't take it off. You can't filter it. It's just when everything is gone, what's real is real. Your family is what's real. Your connection to your family, the love for your children. That's what's real.
For many people at the beginning of 2020, that's all you heard was people's excitement, anticipation, because it was just for everybody. It was gonna be symbolic of 2020 vision. Everything's gonna be clear. I'm gonna finally get my blessing, what's coming to me, and I'm gonna, this and that. And I I expected to hear that particular type of rhetoric coming into the year just because it's year 2020. I knew that's what we were going to hear, but like you said, I believe that it was going to be bringing clarity to not necessarily, and this is not excluding this either, but not only clarity for 2020 vision, the vision being plain for people's lives, but like you said, it was going to be a year where what's most important in people's lives, what's most important in life in itself, was going to be made clear or clearer in the year 2020. And here we are, April of 2020. We're not even halfway in the year, and this pandemic occurs. And I think it has even sharpened that clarity. It's made things even more abundantly clear of what's important really in people's lives, what should be most important. You have
So as an educator, right, I have been saying this for years. People are looking at what's called annual yearly progress, whether schools are passing or failing. And I'm saying to myself that education is about the development of human beings, talents, and their gifts. That's what education is for me. Now, there's no schools competing. People not even thinking about, they're not thinking about quarterly assessments.
Exactly.
They're not thinking about the smarter balance or whether the child is proficient in this test or not. What's really important is, does that child have what it takes to survive?
Yep.
To thrive? I mean, so now you're really looking at a skill set, right? Of how do I make it in a time like this? Well, the people who are going to make it at a time like this are people who are developed inwardly.
Yes.
People who have character.
Yes.
People that know that they have the ability to be creative enough to come up with ideas, and that not necessarily is what's taught in school.
Wow.
So now we have to re-examine what's really important in education.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's even clarifying for us in this highly technological world what we use technology for.
Yeah.
You know, so people that, you know, if you can't, you're in quarantine, FaceTime. you know, FaceTime and the stuff that we're doing now with technology is really to connect us, to make us feel more connected. The other thing that I wanted to say is when you know, at the end of the day, because some of us have been through hardships.
Yep.
You know, some of us know what it's like to have to stretch a paycheck.
Yep, it's nothing new.
And not only some of us know what it's like before this to lose family members and to see the world fleeting. And we have drawn nothing but strength from that.
Yes.
There are others that don't know what it's like to not have their corporation thrive and to have generational wealth and not to be able to get there where go places. So, you know, it's almost like survival of the fittest, the strong will survive.
Yep.
And some people have been conditioned and prepared for this time. You know, I think my life has been like the last 10 years, like quarantine.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of time alone. I spent a lot of time in meditation. I spent a lot of time, I've spent a lot of time even previously before married by myself. So those types of things for me come naturally and come very easy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm, you know, have been blessed not to lose family members like other people or to go through things, but I have been self-employed. I've known what it's like to have to get up in the morning and look for, you know, your next skill to see your income come in. And so for a person that has used inner strength on a daily basis and have, you know, looked at what's important and pardon me, developed themselves, this is a time just to get sharper.
Yes.
For people who have never experienced anything like this can be quite difficult.
You touched on mentioning how other people who have experienced, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, losing family, not having, you know, businesses that's always thriving. Do you think this time we're facing as a entire world, is that something that you think those who used to be in that sense of safety, I guess you could say, do you think that comes to their mind now at a time like this? Like, do you think it comes to people's mind that now this could be either a thing, an opportunity for me to develop strength or grow? Or do you really feel the sense in, you know, just the networks of people or community you might be connected to, or circles you're connected to? Do you think the sentiment has been more of just panic still, where people are really still just kind of being taken back by the pandemic? Things aren't really moving into the arena of how can I be strengthened and where can I find opportunity in this? Is it more of that or the other in from what you've seen, or just the community, like I said, of a network of people you've been around?
I think I'm around a couple of different kinds of people. I've been around people who, you know, have a six-figure, almost seven. I've been around people who have seven-figure income. And I've been around two kinds of people that have a six-figure income. I've been around people who have had nothing. They have been convicted felons. They have made it from the bottom. They understand what it's like to lose everything. And for them, losing everything and gaining it again. I was just reading recently that some of the world's biggest billionaires or millionaires have filed bankruptcy several times.
Wow.
And they've experienced several failures.
Has that been like any recent as a result of the pandemic?
No, these are just people who have the skill of how to become successful in the worst conditions.
Okay. Okay.
It's a skill.
Yes.
To make successful people, there's no way to success. Successful people will always meet success. So, even in, you did studies in the bottom of the fall of the stock market, you had people that were successful based on the needs of others, that what they needed during that very dramatic time. So there are people that are going to be successful regardless to what is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I said they have to have a definiteness of purpose, knowledge of what they want, and a burning desire to possess it. I'm convinced that if people really want something in life, there's no holding them back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Regardless
No,
of
definitely.
outside condition.
Yeah. No, definitely. That's the difference between being just simply interested in accomplishing something versus committed to accomplishing something.
Right. So I think that people that have, spiritual and mental maturity and strength will get through regardless of the outside financial and economic condition. And I also think, so people who have never been through hard times and circumstances may find it more difficult. Not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people who know what it's like to go days and days without a roof over their head, without a proper meal, and they have lived that before.
Yeah, and I think
have gotten through that before.
It segues into our last topic, and I think it'll be fitting to kind of put them in reverse when we talk about just things growing in the dark versus the light. This is a time for many of us where it's dark.
Well, I did want to say one last thing about what I said before, if we did have time.
Yeah.
I always talk about an abundance mindset. And people think when I'm talking about abundance, I'm talking about just money, just dollars.
Nah.
But abundance is a state of being. It starts with gratitude and thankfulness. A person might have, some water, and they only have a little bit of water. And one person might complain and say, look at this lack of this little bit of water I got. Man, I wish I had some more water. And then one person says, man, I'm just happy to have this much water. And there's a law that, what you see, what you feel, you get more of.
Mm-hmm.
So you're focused on abundance in your life. You're focused on all of the things that you're thankful for. And you happen to be a person that's eyes are always open to opportunity and what's working. And so you find more of that just based on your mindset.
Yep.
So, lottery winners are a good example. I always say, they study lottery winners and they give the people that win the lottery $1-2 million, and then after about a year or two, they're worse off than they were after they won the lottery. And it has nothing to do with the amount of money. It happens to do with the mindset and self-sabotage, because they haven't adjusted their mind or in their spirit to be abundant enough to accept the gift that they're given.
Yep.
And so there's some people that you would give $5,000 and they'll come back to you broke, and there's some people you'll give $5,000 and they'll come back with $5,000.
Yep.
And so I always say that there's a scripture in the Bible that talks about a person that's being given 5 talents, one is given 2.
Yep.
It's given 1, and the one that's given 5, I'm saying to myself, maybe they were given 5, or maybe they saw 5, and the other person only saw 1. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because it tends to multiply based on what you actually have in your heart, your mind. Mm-hmm. You're always seeing abundance.
Yeah.
So you get more of what you see and what you feel.
Yeah.
So if it's pay, a person could get 500, another person could get 500, and that person's going to take that 500 and turn that to 25,000.
Yes, indeed.
In the street they call it flipping.
Yep.
So the hustler in the street, if that's no longer doing hustles in the street, that's used to flipping stuff and seeing abundance, could probably make you a millionaire tomorrow legally.
Yeah.
that person who has wealth that's been handed down to them from a rich parent can take that $1 million and we'll be broke the next day. So sort of like the prodigal son that leaves the house,
yeah,
and it comes back searching for more because they've squandered everything.
Yeah. That's
So, I always look at it, what's in your heart, your mind, and your soul is exactly what you are. If you're an abundant, successful human being, no outside condition is going to make you any different.
None. Hey, so make sure everybody, you continue to follow at Free Lunch everywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Free Lunch. That's FRII Lunch. Follow us on YouTube, youtube.com/The Real Free. Again, that's The Real FRII. You can catch this video of all the episodes, including this one. If you're streaming now, listening in on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, it's one more reason to make sure you go follow on all social media so you can get to hear as well as see what's going on all over Free Lunch with The Real Free. This time is one you mentioned where people are who have already been matured on the inside. They're either more prepared or equipped for a time such as this, or they're finding ways to be sharper or be more developed. So they're kind of, those individuals have taken this pandemic, taken this time that we're in and all inside, and instead of adapting a mindset of panic and worry, you also mentioned yourself, you're one of those individuals who you're like that thermometer. Just because the outside is changing, that doesn't mean my thermostat is going to change. I'm going to simply just work harder to keep that temperature that I've had on the inside what it is. So I'm going to keep and maintain that drive. For some, the opposite of that spectrum is, okay, they're not already matured on the inside. Some of us, we're not spiritually mature. We're not mentally mature. And I believe that this is an opportunity where individuals such as that, and even places myself, I have not arrived in the least. There's much work for me to do as well. But this is an opportunity, I believe, for that maturity that you were speaking of to actually begin to occur and develop in some of us. So this is what I mean when I make that kind of statement. Some things can't grow in the light. You need the dark for that. And we can actually find that in nature. There are your most of your common plant life or your common flowers, they're what you call long day type of plant life. And then there's short day plant life that requires long hours of dark in order to grow. And those are the more unique or not so common plant life. So I'm of the sentiment that if you believe you're somebody who we say quote unquote is called, or you believe that you've been it's your purpose to be set apart, to do a special work that not many people sign up to do. You yourself, Brother Kev, you mentioned being in education. We all know, if you're anybody who has ever worked in the past in education, or you currently work in education, it takes a certain type of person to have the patience, the love, and commitment to our young people to work in education. So that already, is one, aspect of being set apart. An individual who you have a unique gifting or purpose on your life to accomplish a certain thing. So that makes you unique. So when I think about that uniqueness, or that calling that might be arduous, or calling that's not as widely run to, or people don't widely raise their hand and say, hey, pick me, coach, I want to go do that. I believe it's that time in the darkness. It's that journey of persevering through trial or tribulation, or whatever it is you want to call it, put a name on it, where that maturity that you spoke of, Brother Kev, on the inside can occur if you allow it. So So for me, this time, for the places where I've confessed to myself, I've been honest and truthful with myself, areas inside of me that I know need maturing, that I know still have to grow. I've taken this time in the quote unquote darkness that the world is in, or this gloomy state, if you will, to begin to do that work. Time in my day where I might have been too busy with my 9 to 5, or too busy doing all of this work and movement outside the home day to day, where there was no time for me to pause and reflect internally. Now the world has been put on pause, and I can take this opportunity, like I've been doing these last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and look inside and begin to develop and mature in those areas so I can be further fortified, and I can grow closer and make more headway in the direction of my purpose.
The other thing is that there's always, there's a law in nature that says that light comes out of darkness. So darkness is always first.
Mm-hmm.
And in the universe, there's only, to me, two places where there's real darkness. Because we don't, even at night, it's really not real darkness.
Yeah.
Because there's a moon, and when we're experiencing darkness on our part of the world, there's the sun on the other part of the world. So it's not absolute darkness.
Exactly.
There's only two places there's absolute darkness, and that is the womb of a woman, and that is within the mind itself.
Yeah.
So, so if light comes out of darkness, then that means that darkness is always first, and out of that darkness comes light. So that's a law, that a continual cycle, that we don't really become enlightened until there's darkness first.
Yeah.
There has to be contrast. It can't be all light, because we wouldn't miss the light.
Exactly.
It was honky-dory, it was great all the time.
Yeah.
We wouldn't appreciate it.
Yeah.
We got to go through some darkness in order to, it's the world of contrast. It's almost like, not going without food or fast will really make you appreciate food.
Yeah.
So there has to be this contrast in order for us to grow. There's periods of ups. When you're really flying high, that's great. Enjoy it. But the reality is that you can't stay there all the time.
You can't.
And so you have to be able to know you got to know how to live when things are high. And you also got to know how to keep yourself when things are low. And so I was telling somebody, I practice the field of mental health.
Yep.
And what makes someone a little bit more mentally sound is their ability, when things fluctuate, to kind of bob and weave with it. Be like the willow tree, where you're not broken. Mm-hmm. You're not stiff. Because you understand that life is cyclical.
Yeah.
And some days you're really flying high and you see everything clearly, and other days things seem a little bit gray.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems a little bit slower, and you're not as fired up. And we got to know how to enjoy that time too. It's just where I'm at today. There's a reason where I'm at. Maybe I'm supposed to spend a little extra time in meditation today.
Yeah.
Reading. Maybe I can't be as available today for others because I have to take care of myself.
Whether in this season or in a previous season in your life, what is something internally that you would say has been grown or developed the most in for you in a time of darkness or
right,
low?
So for some people, right, this whole pandemic is a time of darkness.
Yeah.
For others, there are others that are here gifted to teach, because even within the darkness, they are the lights that are shining.
Yeah.
And their job is to share the light with others who are in darkness.
Yep.
And sometimes we experience darkness, not just days of darkness. You have periods of life, years, when you're in darkness. darkness.
Mm-hmm.
You might go 4 or 5 years, and those bitter periods are, I've experienced that, where you just can't see the light of day.
Yeah.
And so it's something that people experience. But my thing is, you have to learn how to search in the darkness, because you're not always going to be able to find your way.
Okay.
You also have to know that when it's darkness, sometimes you got to be able to stand still. Understanding that, that the light is coming soon and you'll be able to move. So it's the understanding that, look, darkness is not forever.
Absolutely.
And then understanding that I'm feeling really good. I'm in the light, but I'm also preparing for a time that there may be darkness again. And so this time I'm not going to go through like the last time.
Okay.
It's like when people say, I'm going to save for a rainy day.
Yeah.
So there's some of us that understand that, certain senses have to be sharpened while it's light, because you might need them. So, if you're a person that's blind, they don't see any light. They might see shadows.
Yeah.
But they got these other senses to get through. So my thing is that the spiritual sense has to be strengthened, because that's what you're going to rely on in a time of darkness.
So would you say that's the answer to that question for you? The time, any time where you've experienced, or a time you've experienced a length of any quote unquote darkness, or a season of darkness in your life, was that the greatest thing you feel like that was developed internally on the inside of you, is your spiritual?
When people now are talking about darkness as a dark time, it may be a dark time outside, but those of us who have been building up the light on the inside, we just go within.
Okay.
We just go within, and that's where we get our light from.
So I'm trying to find like a. So are you saying you have not in your past for your life experienced a quote unquote time or season of darkness, or what?
No, I have experienced darkness where, to a person who they want to end their life. So people ask me about. I'm in the mental health field, and we discuss suicide all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't realize suicide has different factors. It's not just based on depression. We all get depressed.
Yep.
And getting depressed doesn't mean that you want to commit suicide.
Correct.
Suicide, and it sometimes comes about overnight. It's just where you are cut off from all hope, and you feel that there's no other hope for you but to end your life. There's a series of things that may come up to you, and it doesn't have to necessarily do with only depression. It could be irrational thinking. It could be that over a period of time I've developed a learned helplessness that, I really don't know how to go on to find another day. I'm completely lost. I can't even see myself another day. So there are times in our lives that we are in total darkness, mentally, spiritually, to the point that having money or having people doesn't make a difference. Mm-hmm. It's not what's going on the outside, it's what's going on the inside. So all I'm doing is reversing that and saying, even if the outside situation seems dark, the opposite of that is someone who has the light on the inside, that is able to see the hope, that is able to go on another day because they're getting light from another source.
Yes.
So my thing is that you really can't develop that unless you have been in darkness before and have found your way.
So that's what I'm trying to get a direct answer from you about. In a time of your darkness where you had to find your way for anything, whether you find yourself, identity, find your purpose for your life, find self-love, a number of things that you could find internally in times of darkness. What's been that biggest thing for you that you discovered in a time of darkness?
I think the biggest thing that I found is that God is not outside of me, that God is right inside of me.
That's powerful.
And I can never be separated from God. It is impossible.
That's powerful.
And every day what I do is I practice what's called self-realization. I have to go deeper and make that contact. So the more I strengthen God within me, no matter what goes on in my life, you know, everything may leave. People may leave.
Yeah.
Physically, though, everybody. But I know I'm never going to be alone no matter who leaves.
That's powerful. The deepest, you know, I think I've ever been as it pertains to a low place or a darkness time, that the greatest thing I could have ever achieved, or not could ever, but I think that the greatest thing I have thus far achieved in times of darkness has been just self-love. And it was one of those things that I previously, I think, you know, much earlier time, you know, in my youth, I might have thought, you know, the best love or the greatest love that I could have for anybody is for other people. And I think I spent a large part of my life growing up as a younger man, you know, being bent on loving other people. And I did that well. I did it very well. But I think it caused me to be blind to how much that I really needed to do internally. You know, I think me and you, we had a previous conversation on the phone. We talked about men just being courageous enough to do the internal work. I think you phrased it. And for me, that's what that internal work meant for me. Now, you know, I'm a person that is of a Christian faith, and I have, you know, always grown up with, you know, that as my worldview, you could say, or whether you call it a religion or whatever. And I came across in scripture one time, studying the Bible, where I got suddenly this epiphany while I was in a low place, where I previously just kind of looked at the world where I was just supposed to just love everybody else, just love my neighbor. And I came across this verse where it's, you know, it's Jesus is speaking. It's supposed to be the, you know, the words are, it's the words in red letters. So this is Jesus speaking to one of the disciples, and he's talking about the greatest of the commandments. And he says, mentions to love your neighbor as thyself. And I suddenly had this epiphany go off in my mind, and I said, wow, I can only love my neighbor to the extent that I first love myself, because you have Jesus saying right there in his own words to love your neighbor as yourself. But if you hate yourself, if you do not love yourself, it is not possible then for you to truly love someone else.
So I, you know, so and so, you know, with that,
it reminds me of that saying you hear people say, hurt people hurt people.
Right.
That's kind of why. That's because if I'm hurt, if I have self-hate, eventually that will come out and manifest itself in the way I interact with other people.
Right. So, you know, I you know, one of my favorite verses in the Bible is Colossians 1:27, right? Where it says simply that God has chosen to make known among the Gentiles the glorious riches of the mystery, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So that even with Christ,
yeah,
to me, represents someone in us.
Yes.
I don't think there's a Christ outside of us. So the more I get to know myself, is the more I get to know that Christ. And the world is subjective. I don't care what you know, two people could be saying, I'm the same faith. They're not going to have the same interpretation, because everything is subjective. Everything is from the inside out. So, you know, so it's not that I'm sharing selfishness. My thing is go inside, go within, get to know, love yourself. There's no God outside of you. God is in you. So the more you get to know and love yourself, you're getting to know God. That's what God is. So there is, the beautiful thing is, and when you're happy and at peace, you're a naturally happy and peaceful person that's going to be peaceful and happy with other people. So it's just definitely. Like the work is internal. And so people is like, I got people on my timeline. They talk about the government. They talk about Trump. And I'm saying, your work ain't with the government. Your work is not with Trump. Your work is internal. And if people would turn within and work on themselves, then as it is within, so shall it be without.
What do you say to people that feel like these external forces, government, the pressures or the restrictions or things that they do or put in place, they prevent me from being able to work on myself. I'm distracted from being able to work on myself.
Well, government comes out of the minds and hearts of people. I've been an activist. I've been an activist against police brutality for years. I've been an activist in the community when it comes to crime, government, even black people killing black people. Mm-hmm. And it always comes back to one thing. We need to do the internal work. Because if you're loving yourself, you're not going to kill anybody that's like yourself. Sure. This is plain and simple. Sure. I look at the civil rights movement. I look at what we've been able to do. And the movements that I think have been most powerful is when people have gone within and become spiritually strong enough to face even the biggest giant. Yep. So I'm not against protesting. I'm not against going out. I'm not against going to board meetings and making changes. But we better be working on ourselves within as we work on those things. Sure. Because the quality of them are only going to be as good as we are internally.
Yes. No, 100%, 100%. Again, if you're watching this video, make sure you like this video, share this video, follow Free Lunch everywhere at Free Lunch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Make sure you go follow us on streaming platforms, podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. Also, subscribe to the YouTube, youtube.com/TheRealFree. I wanted us to get to our last subject, and again, I know we don't have much time, but this idea of public figures versus private opinions, and I'm sure that many of the opinions you and I have both shared already on this episode have been some of those private opinions. Some not. There's some of my opinions I'm not private about at all. I'm very I wouldn't say I'm braggadocious either about them. I'm simply what I would just say confident. I'm confident that this is my opinion. These are my sentiments, what so have you. And no matter what arena or circle of people I'm in, I have those particular type of opinions that I don't mind, being out there. But then being a public figure, as you are yourself, there are those opinions of mine that are private, or I choose to have them private because they would not bring fruit out of a circle or realm of people that I may be in. They're private opinions that may only bring harm or detriment, maybe, or may causes someone else to stumble internally or stumble externally, whatever it is. I try to make sure that the opinions or sentiments that I share with people, even my life stories, what people say, their testimonies. I even have private testimonies, and then I have public testimonies, because there are some testimonies that if given the wrong audience or the wrong person, they may hear it, and I may have wanted that to be something that uplifted them or encouraged, but it could be something that actually ends up inciting fear in them or worry or whatever. It may not be fruitful. So I think I've done my best to assess the places that I'm in, the company that I'm in, and let the ultimate goal really be to allow for a fruitful exchange with other people. You are probably one of few perfect examples of that. I've been able to share both things that I just mentioned. I've been able to share both private opinions and private testimonies with a brother like yourself in our meeting that we had at the bookstore. Just because I know from who, what I know of my brother Kevin and what you've shared, I know that that's a forum that I can share private testimony, private opinion, and it bring forth fruit from that conversation rather than cause harm or detriment somewhere.
So I think with that is timing, right? I'm in the mental health field, and they have what's called self-disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
And in helping other people, a lot of times it's not the appropriate time to disclose something about yourself because it's not really about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about them. And if you disclose it and they find it alarming, it might be too much for them to handle.
Exactly.
And so they don't benefit because you have disclosed stuff that's not beneficial to their lives.
Yes.
I think privacy in people's lives is something that they have the right to, no matter how public they are. And, and I believe that people have their right to, when you ask a person a question, they don't have to lie, but they also have the right to remain silent.
Yes, that's right.
You have the right to remain silent.
That's right.
And is what just like they do with Miranda. Anything that you say can be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to remain silent, especially in the situation where your testimony may be used incorrectly.
Oh, definitely.
Damage yourself or damage somebody else. So it's timing.
Yeah.
And this is why when people sometimes use their testimony and they put it in written form, they might change names. Or they might not put the person's name there because they know their testimony may damage somebody else's life.
Yeah.
So I think with that it's tricky. You want to be, I'm honest. I'm a person. I tell the truth and set people free. But sometimes you can tell the truth and hurt people.
Oh man, say that one more time. Did y'all hear that?
You can tell the truth and hurt people. Sometimes we tell the truth in arrogance. We just do it because it's for our own self reward, and we're not thinking about the other people that are not ready for that type of truth yet.
He says sometimes we tell the truth and hurt people. Wow.
I always ask the question,
deep.
why is it that Jesus says, ask the people, who do they say I am? Why don't just come out and tell everybody? I am this, man. I'm like the Messiah, and y'all ain't got it.
Yeah.
People ready for that yet?
That's powerful.
Those people who recognize it, they're ready. Let them go and run with it. But some people, they're not ready for total light because it will blind them. So you have to give people, truth where they are in a light that it will help them. So people that come to therapy, they're not ready for you to just tell them, you know what, you need to cut that Negro off. They're not ready for that.
Oh, God.
I'm just going to... Yeah, I understand. He slapped you about 10 times yesterday.
Wow.
But, you got to get that person to the realization where they go, aha.
Yeah.
It's time to make a change. This is not really good for me.
Yeah, man.
Wow. Even if you've been through that before, and for you to disclose and say, I was with a Negro that was no good like that, and it's not good enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to disclose that, but you can say, I know what it's like to be there. And so maybe if you did this at that moment, that'll get you to the next stage.
Yeah.
So opinions, out of time, even if it is you're a public figure, you have to use wisdom.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with someone saying, I'm a public figure, everything's open. No, everything's not open.
Yeah, man.
What I say to my wife in an argument, even though I'm a public person, I'm not going to take and share on Facebook.
Yep.
Or my opinion of something that she's done is nobody else's business.
Yep.
So I think, but I also think that people need to know. We need to know what we stand for.
Yes.
And people should have a sense of what our character is. So if they come and tell me, Chris did such and so, I, as a person, know, that's not really my brother's character.
Yes.
Even if some of it's not his character. So, we have to draw a line in the sand of what we stand for, and I have struggled with that.
Yeah.
Because, I grew up where I was responsible in leadership at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're very young, you do dumb stuff.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that when you do dumb stuff, that there's a consequence. And, you being mayor of the city at 21 doesn't exclude you because, you got arrested on a DUI.
Mm-hmm.
You were in that position. You done what the mayor did, but you just weren't psychologically ready. And you did something stupid. So that's a reality, too, that you may be a public person, but have to work on your character privately. And some of us get a chance to do that and some others don't.
What would you say is the most public thing personally about your character? What's the most public thing, publicly known, or what's the most widely known public fact about Kevin Muhammad? What does anybody who knows you, what's the biggest widely known fact about Kevin Muhammad as it pertains to your character?
I think people know that I really love our children.
Really love his children.
I really love our children. I'll fight for our children.
Yes.
When it comes to our children, and not just education, but our children in general, I think people pretty much know that I would never harm a child.
Okay.
That I'm always looking out for their children's best interest.
Yep.
And I'm a trusted servant when it comes to their most precious gift, their children. I think I would say people that really know me.
Yeah.
Not that they ever heard that I've hurt a child, but that would be absolutely untrue.
Yeah, I would say for me, it is the most publicly known thing about me. For those who know me, I think would have to be they know how much I love family. They know how much I love family and love my God. The greatest things about you that should be public as a public figure, and probably I believe, Kevin, you would agree with me, as any person, whether you're a public figure or not, should be the things of your character, who you are. Right. People should be able to know who you are as a human being, what you stand for, who you are.
The one thing that I really would stress for all of us is, to get comfortable with our own soul, to have a purpose, to know, like I said, what our burning desire is, and to live from that place. Everybody deserves to live from the place where they're, fulfilling their calling, fulfilling their purpose. Others know what it is, others don't know. My real sentiment and desire is for people to find that place where they're living from their passion, and they're feeling fulfilled. And, even though there are situations in life that may be less than perfect, knowing that you're living a fulfilling life is everything.
Yes.
And I know what it's like to make a six-figure income working on a job and be miserable. And I know what it's like to be pinching pennies and then make those pennies make dollars, but you're doing it from a place of passion and loving every minute of it. And so you become a more joyful person, you become a more loving father, more loving husband. You just become a better person as you begin to improve your life and you find, your passion and your joy.
Awesome, man. Thank you, brother, again, man, for being on the show. I know you're a busy man. You're a family man.
I'm laptop busy now.
Laptop busy, man. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I appreciate it. Until next time, everyone, again, make sure you go follow at Free Lunch. Is free food for your soul.